In 50 yards, at the roundabout, take the first exit onto Dukes Green Avenue. In 100 yards, turn left onto Fags Road, A312. Turn left onto Fags Road, A312. In a quarter of a mile, slight right onto Causeway, A312. Take the next right onto Causeway, A312. Continue on A312 for 1 mile. In a quarter of a mile, at Wagoners Roundabout, take the second exit onto the Parkway, A312.
Flew to Ireland's wild Atlantic way. She met the friendly locals of Cork's famous English market, indulged
Exit the roundabout onto the parkway. Continue on the parkway for 1 mile. In 200 yards, at Cranford Parkway interchange, take the second exit onto the M4 slip road to Heathrow Airport, M25.
Statistics, 25% of the population are still not vaccinated at all. And what was interesting on some reports today from the hospitals is the people turning up with severe illness are still people who have not been vaccinated. And therefore the risk of a very transmissible disease being picked up by people who are not vaccinated is very real indeed. And I can't afford to be in a situation where that transmissibility to me, so to speak, actually could take place.
Tell me about the discussions you've been having with family then. How's that been going?
We've got the arrangements at the moment for a couple of days after Christmas where we were all going to meet up and people coming from different Christmas parties as well, which will be taking place on Christmas Day. But
Exit the roundabout onto the slip road.
My family, look, I don't think we can do this.
In a quarter of a mile, merge onto M4.
And the fact that Omicron is so transmissible, I mean, the figure of the R number between 3 and 5 is something we haven't heard. It wasn't like that last Christmas. And for Boris to be saying, it's all right, really, you can just go ahead, behave us, and have a better Christmas than last year. The situation now, Eddie, is far worse than last year. Far worse and far more serious. I think Chris Whitty has been saying that effectively in the last couple of days.
In these discussions with family about what happens, do you always win because you're a bishop?
No, not at all. It's actually, I'm not.
Continue on M4 for 3 miles.
One of the things that's going to cost me is I don't think I can go to a Christmas service this year because it feels risky, and that's also a great loss. Despite the Archbishop of Canterbury telling everybody they can go to church, I'm not sure I feel quite so easy about all that.
I mean, you must have been shielding for a long time with your condition.
Well, I shielded. With the shielding period, very much so. We were locked down and shielded and so on. And it's been much better, obviously, since that period ended.
In a quarter of a mile, keep right to stay on M4.
HQ. Now breaking news that the police will make contact with two people who attended a gathering at the Conservative Party HQ in London on December the 14th, 2020 in relation to alleged breaches of coronavirus regulations. We'll bring you more on that, of course. Now let's...
Keep right to stay on M4.
Steph, how are you? Have you tested positive?
I have, yeah.
When did this happen?
So I tested positive on a lateral flow test on Tuesday, I think it was, and then I did a PCR on Wednesday, and that was positive as well.
So that's Tuesday, Wednesday of this week.
Yes, yeah, this week.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, not great. It's hit me quite hard, unfortunately, but starting to get through it.
What's it doing to your plans?
So I work for the police, so I was due to be working on Christmas Day, which at the moment we're not sure whether I will be, because it'll be right on the 10-day isolation, so it depends if I get a negative test or not on that morning, which obviously makes it difficult for them to cover my shift, not knowing until the morning whether I'm going to be coming in or not. But we were going to be celebrating Christmas early, which we can't do now, so it'll just be myself and my partner this Christmas, and unfortunately he probably won't be able to go out and see anyone either. So
Well, what are you doing? Are you just looking at the four walls at the moment and
yeah,
praying for time to pass more quickly?
yeah, definitely. Just staring at the same four walls and trying to change rooms every now and again to keep myself sane.
Oh, Steph, I hope it doesn't get any worse. Thank you. Here's Sarah in Worcester. How are you getting on, Sarah?
Hello. Well, we had my Christmas plans go into disarray today because my daughter, who lives in Balham, she tested positive today, poor thing, so she won't be able to come back for Christmas, and her flatmates aren't positive, they weren't in contact with her, so they are leaving, and she's going to be on her own for the next 10 days. But, I mean, we could be disappointed. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's disappointing, but we decided what we're going to do is just move our Christmas Day to Monday the 27th and celebrate it then. So we're not going to be opening any presents on Christmas Day. We're not going to have the turkey or do anything. We're going to do it on the Monday instead, when she can be with us.
Well, that's a nice thing to do. What are you going to do on Christmas Day, I wonder?
Well, we haven't really decided yet. I mean, there'll be 4 of us at home.
Egg and chips?
The 5. Well, we found get some nice juicy steak, and go for a nice walk, and just still watch all the films and do that type of stuff. And it's sad, it's not how we planned it, but we're still
In a quarter of a mile, keep right to stay on M4.
all okay, and we can celebrate it and have a lovely day on the Monday instead.
How is she feeling? How's she coping with it?
Right now, physically, it's pretty nose, so hopefully it will stay mild from the symptoms point of view, but clearly she's
Keep right to stay on M4.
not nice spending 10 days on your own, was it?
At any time of year, but particularly not now. How was last Christmas, by the way, Sarah? Did you manage to get one?
Continue on M4 for 4 miles.
So lovely. We had a lovely Christmas Day. I mean, I think we normally would have more family around, but just adjust your expectations and make the most of what we had. It was lovely.
I hope you have a good time when it does come, Sarah. Thank you. So many people will be, I think, doing something very similar, delaying Christmas. Let me know what your plans are and how they've been affected by either your positive COVID test or a family member. Interesting to hear from Steph, the work aspect of this. I mean, we've talked a bit about how
In 2 miles, at junction 6, take the A355 exit to Slough Central.
Crisis is providing food, advice and a place to stay, plus helping people find somewhere to call home. Please donate £29.06 today. Search Crisis at Christmas. Help someone take their first steps out of homelessness. Thank you.
Plasma. It's incredible stuff. It's powerful, priceless to those who need it, and though you may not have heard of it before, it's used to create unique, life-saving medicines, and amazingly, it's in you. Which is why we need you to donate plasma to help save the lives of thousands of people with weakened immune systems, using medicines only your plasma can help create. Plasma. It's the medicine in you. Search Donate Plasma to register and help save lives. Omicron COVID-19 is spreading fast. Every adult in the country now needs to get a COVID-19 booster vaccine because 2 doses do not give you enough protection against catching Omicron. Boosters give you the best possible protection against the virus and should significantly reduce your risk of serious illness and hospitalization. Strengthen your protection and get boosted now. Visit nhs.uk/COVID vaccination.
I tried to discover some fancy food for the festive season. Something a bit special that my family can share. Go shop small, please.
Let's go shop small this festive season with American Express. Eligible cards enrollment required, terms apply.
Eddie Mayer on LBC.
In a quarter of a mile, at junction 6, take the A355 exit to Slough Central.
Be talking about COVID. If we were going to have a discussion about anything festive, it would be about, I don't know, turkey prices. It's Die Hard, a Christmas film, you know, that sort of thing. But for all the reasons you understand, here we are. Just yesterday, Chris Whitty in Downing Street.
Exit at junction 6.
Number of new COVID cases yesterday, about 78,000. He said record will be broken a lot. Well, he was right about that.
In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, take the 3rd exit onto Tons Lane, A355.
More than 160,000 new cases in 48 hours. And if he's right, that figure's going to keep going up, that daily figure. He talked about Omicron and said we don't know much, but all the things we know are bad. So it's gloomy. I wish we weren't talking about this. I wish it was a sunnier proposition for us all, but here we are. And the truth is that across the country, people are thinking about their Christmas plans and in many cases having to change them because of they've tested positive or because a family member has. And as we heard from the Bishop, there are discussions in families about people's idea of risk, how close people want to get to their families at this time of year, and negotiations going on about what's going to happen. We're going to carry on with calls, texts and tweets on this. The phone number 0345 6060 973. What's all this doing to your Christmas plans? You can text 84850. Eddie, I've just falsified my test results, so I've told everyone I've got COVID, so I don't have to do family Christmas. 10 days doing what I want. Blissful, says Vince. Vince. Paul is in Barnsley. I've tested positive. We'll be isolating.
Exit the roundabout onto Tons Lane.
Working Christmas Day, and it's my birthday tomorrow. Whilst the timing is dreadful, and I'm finding it hard not seeing.
In a quarter of a mile, slight left towards Sippenham Lane.
Consider myself lucky. Joe in Blackburn, a 16-year-old son had second vaccine on Saturday, and then tested positive on Monday. Comes out of isolation on Christmas Eve. We're all doing lateral flow tests daily. Well done for getting hold of them, by the way, Joe. Feels like a matter of time for the rest of the household, to be honest. Christmas Day in the balance, especially as we have a close relative who is immunocompromised due to leukemia. It all feels very shaky. How is it for you? 0345.
Slight left towards Sippenham Lane.
More calls, texts, tweets in just a moment. I want to tell you now, though, it's 6:37, more on one of tonight's main news stories. A man has accepted responsibility.
Continue for 1.5 miles.
Sabina Nessa, reporting for LBC, Phil McDonald.
It's alleged that Kosi Selimaj travelled to the capital from his home in Eastbourne on the south coast to carry out what the prosecution alleges was a premeditated and predatory attack. It's claimed that he struck 28-year-old Sabina with a 2-foot-long weapon as she walked through Qatar Park in Kim his identity and enter a not guilty plea for murder. Just a few meters away, members of Sabina's family watched and listened to proceedings. Despite the not guilty plea, it was indicated on Mr. Selimaj's behalf that he accepts responsibility for killing 28-year-old Sabina. Addressing defence barrister Aidan Harvey, Mr. Justice Wall said, "Is there any dispute your client killed Miss Nessa?" Mr. Harvey replied, "There is not, my lord. He accepts he killed her." Following proceedings, Kosi Selimaj was remanded to custody, and Mr. Justice Wall set a further hearing for February next year, with a 5-week trial due to start in early June.
Phil McDonald reporting. So these surging COVID numbers, what are they doing to everyone's plans for Christmas? Let's hear from Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well. What's the plan?
Great. So I'm not really sure about the plan yet. There's a lot of factors. About 10 days ago, I learned that one of my friend's husband had been to a football match with a few of his mates. They were in hospitality, and they all came back from there, 15 of them, with a virus. They were all tested, and they all have COVID. A few days later, their kids, my friend's children, both tested positive. My friend was doing a lateral flow every day, which was negative for just over a week. And then she felt like she was going to be safe, so she came out with us. Our friends have come over from Australia for the first time in 2 years. They've come back to see their family and friends. I know quite a few of us gathered, maybe 30, 40 of us, that includes all the children. And most of us have since tested positive. I'd say over half of us have symptoms, so mild, just sneezing and streaming. Some of us can't get tests, so we don't know whether we have it, and a few of us could have it but don't have any symptoms, and we don't know because they can't get tested, and we've tried to get hold of them and we can't. My son's coming back from uni in a couple of days for Christmas. My other son's in the RAF and he's coming home, and we're going to see our family, but we just don't know what we're going to do, because last year it was easy, we couldn't do anything, but this year we can, but we don't know whether to or not. And every person who was in that room last week is having the same conversations as us and the same dilemmas.
Would you like someone to tell you what to do? Would it be easier?
Absolutely, yeah, just tell us. I mean, it would make it easier to have the conversation to say, actually, I don't think I'm going to do that, or, it just takes the awkwardness out of it, doesn't it, between your family and your friends?
That's the thing, yeah. That's the thing we were talking about with the bishop, about everyone's different. Some people